Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, y'all. I am Sherman D. Manning, author of The Truth About O.J. Simpson, Race, Class, Money, and Justice, available at local bookstores as well as on Amazon.com. And you have tuned in to the Sherman D. Manning podcast. Text somebody, email them, instant message them, and let them know that we are now on the podcast. We will be conducting man on the street interviews coming soon. We will be dealing with specific issues and exhausting those issues coming soon. In the meantime and in between time, you have Donald, who wants to be president, who has made the statement that black people have a lazy gene. Okay? He is called Mexicans rapists. He's made fun of the disabled. He used eminent domain to try to take a widow's house so that he could build a parking lot. Let's talk about Chris Christie, though. This is a man who was evil enough to refer to the commander-in-chief, to the president of these United States of America, as a petulant child, which is code for calling him a boy. And now, Chris, who criticized Donald early on, said he was not a conservative, called him everything but a child of God, has suddenly sold out and endorsed him. He sold out and endorsed him. I see why, to be quite frank with you. I understand clearly why some people are just totally jaded and disenchanted with politics. When you have these kinds of occurrences in which you've watched a man basically call a man everything except a child of God, which is what Christie did regarding Donald. And he was not fit to be commander-in-chief according to Chris Christie. And he was this and he was that. Any negative adjective you can think of, Chris Christie used it to describe Donald. And suddenly, I guess that was an earthquake. Suddenly, a bell rang in Christie's head. And all is forgiven, and all is forgotten. And now Donald is the man that Christie believes should lead this country. I understand clearly why some people are disenchanted with politics, why they look at politicians as all being bull crappers, all being full of defecation. I get it. No one has to really explain to me why they are so disenchanted with this kind of hypocrisy and this kind of flip-flop. And it should be hard for Christie to look the American people straight in the face and say, yes, I said that, I did that, and I changed my mind. Oh, by the way, I think Donald should be president. This bothers me. But I want to tell young people who are listening out there, don't allow this kind of bogus bullcrap to cause you to stray away from wanting to be involved with politics. Instead, let this motivate you to get involved with politics, because what we need are more honest politicians. We need more people who are not striving and craving for power. Ambassador Andrew Young is a great example of a great man and a great politician, an honest politician. He lost the gubernatorial race in the state of Georgia because he would not sell out. This man believed that playing the lottery was wrong, a sin, according to his religious beliefs as a Christian and as a minister of the gospel. And to be quite frank with you, it is Andy's refusal to support the lottery in the state of Georgia that cost him the gubernatorial race. And had he simply compromised his belief that that was a moral sin, then Andy would have been governor of Georgia. You have to respect a man who's willing to say, I'm not going to sell out. I'm not going to compromise my beliefs just to win an election. He lost. He lost. Now, some will say, well, if you don't win, you can't win. Or if you don't win, you can't affect change. Well, you all have got to excuse me, please. I'm sorry. You can affect change, first and foremost. And secondly, Andy won many times. He won a lot more elections than he lost. But a real man who is after change has to be willing to sacrifice an election if necessary in order to tell the truth, in order to be transparent, in order to be just, in order to be fair, and in order to be consistent with the platform that he has advocated and propagated throughout his career. Doesn't mean you can't change your mind now. We are given permission by the universe, if you will, to change. Growth very often leads to a transformation in thinking. So there's nothing wrong with changing. The problem is when you compromise your integrity and call it change. Christie has not changed. Donald has not done anything over the past few months which has suddenly showed Chris Christie that, oh, wait a minute, I was wrong about him. He is a great man. He's this, he's that. That has not happened. Christie is a fat, cheeseburger eating, stomp jumping, tobacco chewing, pickup truck driving, greasy, hillbilly redneck who will go whichever way the political winds blow. When his state needed money because of Hurricane Sandy, and President Obama was in the middle of the fight of his life, the campaign of his political career, Christie embraced him. Remember, he hugged him, and all the Republicans got angry with him. But he was not hugging him because he liked him or he respected him. He was hugging him because he needed him. You understand? And so now he sees he's an opportunist. He sees a Big Mac, he eats it. You lay an order of fries on the table, he'll pick it up. You remember he threatened a guy with an ice cream cone. He looks like Pillsbury the Doughboy. And so he is the kind of guy who sees an opportunity and seizes the moment. So he says to himself, you know what, I really don't think Donald's going to win. Donald's probably not going to win. Donald will be a horrible president. Donald will be untrustworthy. He would threaten the safety and security of this nation with his irrational thinking, with his brashness, with his lack of equilibrium, his lack of discipline, he would destroy this country, to be quite frank with you. But here's what Christie says. On the chance that he wins, just in case he wins, he's going to need an attorney general. In case he wins, he's going to need a vice presidential candidate. So trust me, that was a deal made behind the scene for him to endorse Donald. All you have to do is pay attention, my people. 3 or 4 weeks ago, I saw Donald talking about Christie the day after he dropped out of the race. And Donald is not a good actor, quite frankly. He is really not a good actor. And so he was saying things like, I talked with the governor. He's a friend of mine, and I'm just not going to say much right now. And I knew right then, I said, okay, you and Christie have either cut a deal or are cutting a deal for you to come out and be endorsed by Christie. And so Christie wants a job. That's all it is. What I would like to see is more men go to Washington who are not looking to enhance their own portfolios. I want people who want to go to Washington to do good, not just to do well in their bank accounts. And power corrupts. Absolutely. Power corrupts. And what happens is very often these guys get to D.C. Andrew Young told me a lot about it. And when they get there, they get drunk with power. Drunk with power. And go ahead, baby. And after that, they're no more good for anybody. They're no more good for anybody. They're there on the weekends. They're there all week, away from their wives and families. They're mostly drunks. I'm talking about the Congress and the United States Senate, and in some instances, even the presidents. And so, in some instances, it's the president also. Certainly not President Obama, but they get there and they get drunk with power. And this is what has happened to Christie on a small level. Power is intoxicating, and so he's in governor of the state of New Jersey, Fat Jersey, some people call it, because of him. And he's drunk, and he wants more power. They want the beast that Obama rides around town in. They want those helicopters that he has at his beck and call. They want that Air Force One. Don't let Donald fool you. His little jet is nothing like Air Force One. Air Force One can launch satellite programs from the back seat of the coach section, if there is such a thing. He can order submarine hits. He can order a nuclear warfare from Air Force One. These guys want that power. And it is a big job, and it is a big duty. And America better wake up. We'd better wake up and take this very, very seriously. When we elect a president, it affects the country for decades to come. Look at the mistake we made in electing George Bush. And I feel sorry for the guy. I'm not one of these guys who likes to talk about him a lot if I can help it, because he went through hell and high water, and I kind of feel sorry for him in a way. I don't know why, but I do. Maybe I got a little soft spot there, but George Bush had one of the worst presidencies in the history of this nation. And a little bit of it was not his fault. Those guys, Don Rumsfeld and many of those others on his team, Karl Rove, they misled the guy. They led the guy around by a string. And he believed in them and believed anything they told him, and they really, really did not serve him well. But at the end of the day, the buck stops with the commander-in-chief, and he has to take the blame for what happened. And so if you look at the trillions of dollars, let me repeat that, the trillions of dollars we have spent on Iraq and Afghanistan, and especially Iraq, attacking a country that never attacked us. You understand? And many arguments have been made by military experts that what President George Bush did with Iraq and Afghanistan is responsible for ISIS as we know it. Now, there's enough blame to go around. I understand that clearly. There is blame to go around, and you can't blame one person for all of this. But I will say to you that many military experts believe that had we not gone into Iraq, ISIL as we know it would not exist. Okay? And one of the things I found shocking about the Republican Party is that they are more afraid of the NRA than they are of ISIL. They are more afraid of the NRA than they are of ISIL. And I find that shocking. I find it extremely shocking. How could you fear the NRA more than ISIL? Well, go ask Chris Christie. Go ask Donald. Ask Marco Rubio. Ask all of those guys. They can tell you. They're afraid. And they've sold out. And they continue to sell out to the NRA. You want to know who's in charge of the Republican Party? It's not Paul Ryan. It's not Mitch McConnell. It's the NRA. So they're cowards. If I wasn't trying to be PG and be respectful, I'd call them another name that we sometimes refer to cats as. It starts with a P. The second letter is U. And we refer to cats by that name. But that's what they are.